Welcome! Good to see you guys here. And thank you for your patience as we're setting up. We're going to be doing the program that's building on the emotional activation system. So you've seen already how to use your emotions as a primary tool, as a method for making her feel the way you feel, for making her fall in love with you, and for making her attracted to you very quickly. So today we're going to be going into more detail on it. Today's program will give you more examples, give you more specific techniques, and we'll be elaborating on the different stages of a relationship. So just as a reason why, to give you a reason why you should listen to this, the emotional activation system not only allows you to make her feel how you feel, but it also speeds up the normal courting or mating process. Right? So the normal mating process might be multiple dates, you meet through friends. This is how most people hook up in the world. It's largely left up to chance depending on who their friends know, and then hopefully they get along. And that's how most of the world gets boyfriends and girlfriends. With the emotional activation system, now that you're in control of, once you know this, you're now in control of that process. You've basically learned the principles underlying the natural mating and courtship process. And what the emotional activation system does is condense the entire relationship into a matter of hours. What this means is that using the emotional activation system, it will guarantee sex earlier. Now, why is this important? For women, as you know from evolutionary history, evolutionary psychology, sex is an important item of investment. Their womb is basically the thing that your genes as a male wants to access because we want to propagate our genes, right? This is like Richard Dawkins, the selfish gene is what he's saying. Because of that, women are very protective over the last stage of that courtship, right? Whereas men are more apprehensive and feel more anxiety or more anxious over the beginning stages because there's more at risk at the beginning. There's relatively little at risk for the male at the end. Right? After he impregnates one woman, he can just go on, depending on how much testosterone you have, to impregnate another. But if a woman gets impregnated, she's out for 9 months, and probably for another 3 months after that or so. And that's why there's so much more at risk. This is why, if you can get to sex early, then a woman is giving you a lot of investment. And the more investment you get from somebody, the more they value you. And the more, because of the cost-worth connection, the more they think you are worth. And this works through the power of post hoc rationalization. For those of you who have read the classic book by Robert Cialdini on influence, you would know about this principle. For those who've read anything in psychology lately as in the past 30 years or so, including the work in happiness, you'll see that most of us don't make decisions based on our conscious processes, but they're working through the automatic unconscious responses, right? We covered this in the first emotional activation system class. So since you know this, you know that if you get to a point where you're getting a significant degree of investment, the woman will rationalize the rest of that, what had happened before. She'll have rationalized it as being, wow, I can't believe I did that for him. He must be really attractive. He must be very worthy. He must be very high value for me. He must be worth a lot to me. Right? So getting that early on will keep your value pretty high. She'll consider you of worth. It also gets you out of the provider category. Right? It's easier to move from lover to provider in general. Right? If you're already having sex with a guy, if the woman's already having sex with a guy, not you, Shabir, but if a woman's having sex with a guy, she's already giving him significant investment. She's already giving him quite a lot. And for her to then say, well, I'll have sex with him again next week, is not going to be as big of a deal now that he's gone over that big hurdle there. And over time, it can become something more. And lastly, but not least, sex is an important part of a relationship. As you get more, your standards go up higher and higher, you'll see that their sexual chemistry is a key component of a happy relationship. So you might get along great with a woman, and you have lots of connection, and you have lots in common. But if there's no sexual chemistry, guess what that's called? A friend. A really great friend. A BFF. Like a hetero friend. It doesn't happen that often. It doesn't happen often at all. But if you want to take it beyond that level, and you want it to be, you're looking for a girlfriend, or you just want to find a good lover, obviously the sexual chemistry is an important part. And you can't make an educated decision about it, whether you should invest in her in terms of your time and your effort and your money, until you see what she's like in the bedroom. You know, she could be a total fish, just lying there not doing anything. And now you're thinking, oh geez, I just bought her all of this stuff, and you know, this fancy dinners and all of this, and flowers and champagne, and now I don't want her anymore. And it's kind of not even fair to her, right? Because it's not her fault that she's like that. Maybe she'll be fine for another man who doesn't need that kind of chemistry. But it's an important part of a relationship, and get that out early. Right? That's just part of happiness. And the emotional activation system, the way I'm teaching it, will help you, will guarantee you a girlfriend as well, because of the way that the emotions are conveyed. It's an honest emotion. It's an honest communication. Because what you're trying to do at the bottom of it is to understand what you're feeling and have it honestly there, and then just expressing honestly how you're feeling. And it's a very vulnerable experience. And if you're opening yourself up in that way, expressing yourself honestly, other human beings, and she will want to reciprocate. She will feel compelled to reciprocate. Right? And you'll see this, especially in the second step of the three steps, why this works so powerfully, forming a deep connection. It comes out of my style too. I talked in the earlier program about the rake and the rake style, and how that was something that I gravitated towards naturally. That it was born out of the fact that I was moving a lot. I moved every 4 to 8 months for a period of 4 years. I was moving not just from one city to the next, but from one country or one continent to the next. What this meant was that I didn't have time to build big social circles. If I stayed in one country for 8 months, I could build a really big social circle within two months, and then I would be able to feed off that as far as my social life for the remaining 6 months, and you can do that. And I would say it's a very important part of a happy life, having a great social circle and having lots of quality relationships. And you should be working that angle no matter what. However, there are many times in my life when I would just pop into a city for a week or for a couple days. As some of you just have come back from Jakarta, you would know that you don't have access to a social circle immediately, and you need to have the skill to pull 5 girls back to your bedroom, as one of our approach coaches has done. That bastard. And how does he do that? Well, if you have these skills, the emotional activation system, you don't need to have a social circle. It does not require an upfront investment of months and months of energy or time. So this is a liberating experience. This is part of what this is the big promise that the Aura Academy gives you. The big promise is that you can go into an airport on a layover, and if you see the most beautiful girl you've ever seen, in 4 hours, in that layover, you have a really, really good chance of turning her into your girlfriend. You don't know anyone else in the airport, you don't know anyone else who knows her, but if you use the system, you have a really great chance of turning her into your girlfriend. And that's a very liberating power to have. It also does not require any dishonesty. Right? So that's the big bonus of it. I think honesty, to me, is a very freeing experience, to just say what is on your mind, to say how you feel. It doesn't require, for instance, it doesn't require that you pretend not to know her name when you do, or that you hide your emotions, that, hey, you know, I didn't notice you before, when you did. And it's all upfront and honest. And that's a big part of the power there. This is the way that I and many of my clients have gotten our girlfriends, long-term relationships, wives for my clients, not for me, wives, fiancés, mothers of their children. This is the system, and it happens very quickly. And that's really the bonus part of it. It's a really exciting aspect of it. So just as a recap, I need to go over for you the 2 frameworks that are each 3 steps. Right? The first is the 3 steps of a relationship. Step 1, and each step is defined by the emotions you feel. Life is really driven by emotions. Without emotions, life would be meaningless. So if you think about it primarily as emotions, and that's the way I'm going to be doing it, I'm going to be at each step looking at which emotions are dominant, which emotions you need to create in yourself and to feed off of. So the first step is going to be defined by excitement. fun. Maybe some positive nervousness because you're just meeting her and you really want this to go well. And it's going to be a little bit sexual, as in you have some sexual interest in her. It's not going to be completely like platonic, like you're just meeting a buddy. But it won't be very sexual yet, because you still have a lot to get to know before you're willing to open up like that. Step 2 is defined by appreciation, wonder, and it's a bit more sexual. Step 3 is where you're savoring the sexual attention. It's defined by sexual attention. And you're going to be more aroused. And you're going to be trying to hold yourself back. You're going to be restraining yourself. Right, those are the dominant emotions at each step. Your whole relationship is a combination of those 3. Okay, that's a review. And one more review, the 3 stages to mastery. The emotional activation system in action will look a bit different depending on which stage you're at. So at the beginner's level, you're not going to be able to feel the proper emotions yet at each time. So maybe when you first meet her, your overwhelming emotion is nervousness, anxiousness, anxiety, and maybe you're too aroused at the beginning because you don't have very many options, or you haven't had sex in a long time or something. So you're not going to be able to harness it the way it should be. But you just need a little tweak. The little tweak is this calibration. The calibration is, you know what the ideal man is like, and you're able to calibrate against that. So you verbalize it, right? That you do feel this way. You name and you identify, you name the emotion you're currently feeling. I'm feeling super, super nervous. But I know I shouldn't be nervous. I should be really confident. And I should get to know you first, because even though I think you're overwhelmingly beautiful, that's all I can think about is how beautiful you are. But I need to have standards. I want to have standards. So tell me more about yourself. Okay, that's the calibration, right? That's the beginner's level. At the intermediate level, you won't need to do that so much because you won't be feeling the wrong emotions. But then again, it's also a stage where you're trying to have more control over a range of emotions. To go very quickly from sadness to excitement is difficult for most people. And that's the advanced level. When you're able to manipulate emotions within yourself, and then therefore transfer them to her, project them to her, and she'll feel a range of emotions. She'll go on this emotional roller coaster when she's with you, and always ending in the positive, of course. And that becomes addictive. That gives her a really rich emotional life, and everybody likes that. Everybody wants that. And because of this, she feels that you're in control. She's going to test you more, but you're going to see that you're going to view those tests as being fun and cute. Right? It's going to be amusing to you. So those are the 3 stages to mastery. So how we're going to be structuring this is we're going to be looking at each step. So we're going to start with step 1 now. And within each step, I'll be looking at how a beginner might do it and how an advanced practitioner would do it. Okay, so there are those 2 poles within each step. All right, so we're going to look at step 1. Step 1, I'll just call that enjoyment. Step 1 is enjoyment. Again, the dominant emotions there are enjoyment, fun, amusement, contentment, pleasure. How do you control enjoyment? How do you, if you're not feeling so fun at the time, how do you get there? Well, broadly speaking, there are 2 ways to do it. You either go outside in or you go inside out. It's either inside or outside. Right? Outside in means that you control the physical body. You control your biochemistry. So there's a feedback loop, and it's been proven through science. For example, if you smile. If you smile long enough, your brain, because of the muscles, will get a feedback loop so that you're going to get more dopamine in your brain. You'll be actually happier. The act of smiling will make you happier. It's not just a manifestation of the fact that you're happy. Happy people smile, but if you smile, you become happy. Right? That's a very simple thing. Try to smile more. You'll be happier in life. That's why if you're in a bar or club, don't try to be cool. Cool is for douches. Yeah, I'm cool. Right? Don't be cool. Just have fun. Smile. Even if you feel it's goofy, wait a few minutes. It'll start to hit your brain. It's like a drug. You'll get dopamine. Smile. Stand straight. Again, this is another part of the biofeedback loop. If you stand straight, you'll feel confident. If you go around slouching all the time, guess what? You're going to be depressed. It's really hard to be happy when you're standing like this looking down. But if you're really sad and you look up and you stand up straight and you smile, this could be hard for you to maintain depression. Breathe deeply. If you're feeling really nervous or anxious, you can control the level of, you control your heart rate. You can also control your level of anxiety by controlling your breath. Right? Obviously, meditation is very good for this. My PhD was partly in Buddhism, and I had to hang out with Buddhist monks quite a bit for the field research. And they have a very strong control for the masters. Some of them didn't, but some have very strong control because of the practice of meditation and other reflective activities over their emotions and the way that their body feels to them. So breathe deeply, stand up straight. Move smoothly. If you're feeling nervous, then slow down your movements. Because when your heart is racing, everything will look like it's going faster. And you'll just move faster or speak faster to keep up with the warped perception. But if you slow down your movements, it's going to feel painfully like you're on 8 times slow speed on the DVD player. Hello. It's going to sound like that to you. But to everybody else, it will sound just right. And eventually, after 30 seconds or so of doing that, your heart rate will begin to slow and you'll actually calm yourself down. Look into people's eyes. I find myself, when I'm having, I think a lot, especially when I was in my academic phase. I'm constantly thinking of what to write in the next article, or I'm thinking of other ideas in my philosophy books. And when I'm talking to somebody, I'm not fully there, I'm not completely present. And people pick up on that. That's a bad emotion to transfer. The emotion is, I don't really care about you as much as I care about this idea that I'm thinking about. So I had to force myself to focus on the person by focusing on his eyes, or her eyes. Look at people in the eyes. It will also calm everything down. You might have a whirlwind of things going on. Right? You're thinking, especially I see this when people are trying to make a decision to join, whether to join the academy. There's some people on the fence. You know, is this really for me? It's going to mean I'm going to have to get outside my comfort zone. It's going to mean it's going to transform my life in a way that might make me uncomfortable, in ways that maybe I'm not ready for. And their eyes start shifting madly, like they're not looking at me, they're just looking. And I start looking behind me like, what's so interesting behind me? And there's nothing there. It's just his eyes are betraying his emotions. You can control your emotions by controlling where your eyes are focused. Right? Focus on her and nothing else in one place in her body, her eyes. And that will help you calm down. And get enough sleep. It's hilarious because in Singapore, people work really, really hard. I know in Asia, 80-hour weeks are not uncommon. And when so if a guy does a 60-hour week, comes out on a Friday night at midnight, hang out at the club, he's like, oh, I only had 3 hours sleep last night. I'm like, what are you doing here? You're not going to be able to convey the right emotions. Otherwise, you're going to be on your 7th Red Bull. At which point you could do it, and then you won't be able to sleep again. It's not worth it. Go home, take a nap. Right? Get at least 6 hours if you're going to go out. Make sure you have 6 hours of sleep. That's my minimum. Everybody's a bit different. Some people are sleep cycling. I know that's pretty common. I mean, it's pretty popular now, so maybe you're on a 4-hour cycle or something. But whatever it is, make sure you feel rested. Before you go out, take a shower. Listen to some music you like. Eat some food that you enjoy and that you know will be good for your body. So take care of your body. That's an important part of it. In fact, you notice now that whereas in psychology before, they used to treat mental illnesses or mental problems with hypnotherapy or talk therapy, now the first resort, it seems, in America especially, are drugs. And you go see a psychiatrist and he gives you drugs. What does that tell you? It tells you that the medical community is almost in consensus that to control the mind, you actually just take pills to control your biochemistry. Now, obviously, that's not going to solve everything, and we're seeing a lot of the effects of that, like with over-medication and all of that. But you do need to learn from that. The biochemistry is important. Don't think it's all your problems about the way you see the world and so on. Maybe you just need more sleep. Okay, but inside out is how the emotional activation system works. So I'm just going to assume that you're smiling, you're standing up straight, you're breathing properly, you're trying to move as slowly and smoothly as you can, you're looking into her eyes, and you're getting enough rest and eating the right kind of food. Okay, this program is not going to be looking at that per se. It's going to be looking instead at the very powerful inside out that most people don't take advantage of. Working inside out means this. The overwhelming emotion you must give her, and you want to give other people, and that you want to feel yourself, is happiness. Happiness and fulfillment. You want positivity. What this means is you need to maximize happiness in your life. So let's talk about how to be happy real quick. Because if you're happy, if you're a happy guy, and if you have a really positive outlook on life, there isn't that much that you need to do in terms of the first step. You just show up and you're happy. Hey, what's up? You can do that if you're happy. How to be happy. A lot of guys who come, well, I mean, the main reason people come to these dating skills seminars or to join the Or Dating Academy is because they're unhappy. They're unhappy with their dating lives. And they feel like there's this lack, there's this need that they have, that they're missing something. And that's true. And one of the most important components of happiness is having quality relationships. Right? So if you're missing that part, you do want to get that fixed. But what I see is that after a couple months or 3 months, the guy is actually getting quality, well, he's getting relationships. Maybe 3 in one night. But he's still not happy, he's still like not fulfilled. And that's because he's looking outside of himself for fulfillment. There are just a very few things, very few factors outside you that can affect your happiness. What are those factors? The first I gave you is quality relationships. Studies have shown that if you're in a shitty relationship, like you're in a horrible marriage, you have to come home every night to a horrible spouse that you hate or don't feel good with, that will really, really affect your permanent level of happiness. Another is shame. If you feel shame. And Asia being a strong shame culture, this is more of a factor than in other places. For instance, as you can see, when there's a scandal in some company in Japan, the guy responsible will commit suicide sometimes because of the overwhelming shame. Americans cannot believe that. Why? Because the American who fucks up his company declares bankruptcy and is free. Or maybe he'll go to jail and he'll think, man, jail's better than being out there. Right? But not in Asia. Shame is an overwhelming thing. So learn to deal with the shame. In America, though, shame has come out in this way. The studies have shown that people who get plastic surgery are actually happier, on average, after the surgery. I got LASIK, and I can't believe how long it took for me to do that. I'm so much fucking happier after LASIK. And I'm like, I got it when I was 35. But people who have like breast enlargements or a nose reduction or something, because most of their lives they're ashamed of that feature of themselves. When they get it changed, they feel a lot more proud of themselves. And obviously, if you get your body in shape, that's an important part of it. If you feel shame because you're fat or feel shame because you're too thin, get that fixed. That's an important part of happiness. Most of all, autonomy. You must feel like you're in control. Interestingly, in this really great book called The Happiness Hypothesis by a prominent psychologist named Jonathan Haidt, he goes over some of these factors. And he found that in terms of autonomy, 2 factors that overwhelmingly affect your overall level of happiness are noise and your commute. Isn't that funny? You can control this. Your environment, noise. If you live next to a construction site and it's going all day long, it will affect permanently your level of happiness. Commute. If you have to drive for an hour every day to work and it's through shitty traffic that's crawling and you're not spending the time in a productive way that you find productive, that will also affect your permanent level of happiness. Now I've been referring to this thing, permanent level of happiness. I'm just assuming that you know the reams of research on the fact that even if you win $1 billion, well, I think the studies are millions of dollars, in a lottery, 6 months later, you're going to be as happy as you were before you won the lottery. So if you win the lottery and you're a miserable person, 6 months later, you're still going to be a miserable person. You're just going to be a miserable person with either $1 million or someone who's burned $1 million. If you're a happy person and you get $1 million, you're a happy person with $1 million. $1 million does not change your level of happiness. Your permanent set point of happiness is something that is, well, part of it is genetic, but it's determined by these other factors: quality relationships, shame, autonomy. Right. So I highly recommend that book, The Happiness Hypothesis. Along the same lines, if you really don't find that you're happy, none of this stuff will work. Because if you're coming from a negative place in life, it won't matter if you're trying to project sexuality. It won't matter if you're trying to project appreciation, because you won't be able to. You're going to be projecting appreciation tinged with hate, tinged with bitterness, with resent. Right? All of that will come through. Right? Your true, honest feelings are what will come through. So make sure that your life is actually a happy one. Here's a really great way of learning about happiness and the great studies in it. The professor at Harvard University, he teaches the most subscribed class in Harvard University. The most students who are in any class, registered class, are in his first year class on happiness. And the third biggest class in the entire university are in his upper level year course on happiness. And guess what? Just like MIT, Harvard has put many of their courses for free online. I watched this entire lecture on video. I never paid to Harvard. I watched both classes online for free. And what he does is he presents an overview in about 12 weeks, 12 different classes for about 2 hours each, on the science of happiness. And it's amazing how misguided and deluded we are into thinking we know what will make us happy. So I gave you the first set, which was your context and your environment. How can you control your context and environment to make you a happy person? What else is in your control? What you do. So none of those things are really what you do. Noise, commute, your quality of relationships, you kind of do it, but a lot of it is about meeting the right people. And, well, shame, right? Those are more context factors. But the activity factors, things that are in your control, what Haidt calls voluntary control, is flow. You must maximize your flow experiences. Flow is a term that comes from another famous psychologist named Mihai Csikszentmihalyi from a book called Flow, right? The Psychology of Optimal Experience. In flow, he's looking at this concept, which is basically composed of 4 features. There's a challenge. You have the resources to meet that challenge. While you're dealing with this challenge, you lose track of time. There's time distortion. And you get immediate feedback on how well you're doing. What is an activity that meets those criteria? Video games. Well, if you're playing the right level for you. Right? So if you're playing suicide level and it's your first time playing the game, it's going to be very frustrating. You're not going to get in flow. But if you're playing right at the level that you can handle, when the bad guy comes, you can hit him, but it's still hard, you can while away hours. I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but I unfortunately have. When I should have been studying for an exam, I'm playing like Halo. Because, oh shit, man, 4 hours went by. And I played the game, just got through 1 level or something. And that was really rewarding, actually. And that's a really great way of being happy. If you can maximize those flow experiences. More common ones, the ones that Csikszentmihalyi studied and his team studied, are music. If you're a musical performance. I remember practicing saxophone until my lower lip became so weak that my teeth dug into them and I started bleeding through my horn. And then I knew I got to stop. That's a good cue to stop. But I was so lost in the music, I lost track of time. I was losing myself in the process. Another one is reading. Reading a really great book that challenges your mind. You can while away an entire 15-hour flight reading a really great book. And of course, what else? Social settings. Talking to somebody, and you're getting along really well. I'm sure all of us have experienced that. We're just chatting with a friend, or maybe a potential love interest, and you're getting along really, really well, and you just completely lose track of time. Next thing you know, 5 hours have passed, and it felt like half an hour. You want to maximize those. So if your job is shit, if you're doing a job you hate, you can't be happy. That's just what the studies show. It's better to make less money and do something you really love, something that you can lose yourself in. And lastly, along these lines, you want to minimize your conspicuous consumption. The studies overwhelmingly show that if you invest your time and effort and money into conspicuous consumption, which are markers of relative success that others can see, then you will be not just unhappy, you'll be frustrated. Because you're hoping, most of the people who invest in conspicuous consumption are hoping that it will bring them happiness. Buying that Lamborghini, damn, once I get that Lamborghini, I'm going to be so happy. Right? We all think this way because this is how marketing works on us. Right? Marketing is very effective. We all think that if we get that thing, maybe those nice clothes or nice watch, I've succumbed to that, or a nice house or a yacht, remember when I finally get that jet? I'll be happy. But the studies have shown, no. After a few months, you're going to go back to where you were. Right? But you're going to be frustrated because you just blew $1 million thinking, it would have made me happy. Instead, focus on quality relationships. Spend more time with people you love. Autonomy. Make sure that you feel like you're in control of your setting, of your activities. Take care of the things that you feel ashamed of. Maybe you're overweight or you're too thin. Take care of that. Maybe you don't like the way you dress. You look down in the mirror, you're like, I just don't like what I see. Take care of that. And then maximize flow experiences. Okay, that's the down and dirty on how to be happy. I really recommend you go check out Ben Shahar's class. Did I say his name right? I'm going to make sure I do. Tal Ben Shahar's class at Harvard University. You can Google it. He's got a book out that summarizes the class. But it's a really interesting class because he also gives assignments that are really good to do. Okay, as you can see, this is not per se step one. This is like pre-step one. This is what I call the pre-approach. Before you could put this into effect, ideally you would be happy, but don't wait, because one of the reasons you might be unhappy is because you don't have quality relationships. And if that's the only reason, then just go ahead and try this. This is the purpose behind it, so that you can get a quality relationship with a woman. One last thing for pre-approach is your attraction mindset. When you're interacting with people, the overwhelming thought in your head should be fun, have fun, enjoy yourself. It doesn't have to be wild, crazy fun. It can be the kind of fun where you're just lounging on the beach, reading a book, and enjoying the environment, right? That's enjoyment, right? But you've got to have fun. You've got to be contented, feel enjoyment, feel pleasure. And that should actually take up over half of your mental processes, just fun things. And then once you're having fun, make others have fun. Spread the love. And then make connections. See if people meet your standards. Those three things in total should take up over 90% of your mental processes when you're socializing with people, when you're meeting, going up to the woman that you want to meet. The remaining 10% is going to be divided between things like just figuring out logistics, that is physical movement, where are you going to go next, where are you standing in relation to her, just positioning and movement. And then remaining 5% on the techniques or strategies that you want to work on. But all of the work that you're doing now in terms of preparing to meet the woman that you want to attract has to be done in your study room right now while you're watching this. This is the time to do the homework. Do your homework and then forget it and just hope that you did enough when you go and socialize. Because thinking about the homework too much, if you allow it to take up more than 5% of your mental processes, you're like, okay, wait, I'm on stage 3 now. I'm going to do step 2, stage 3, 2BA. Okay, here we go. That is going to fuck you up. Instead, when you're in the moment, just react, have fun, make others have fun. It's sort of like martial arts. Right? You hope that in the practice sessions, against your sparring partner or against the punching bag, you've done enough prep work so you get in the cage or the ring, you don't have to think about it, you just react and respond. Okay, pre-approach. Okay, so step one, part one of pre-approach is how to have fun. Let me talk about this a little bit more in case people are like, how do I have fun? All right, real quick. The reason why you're having fun first and foremost is because of the principle of emotional transference and emotional contagion. If you're not having fun, then that means you're experiencing some kind of negative emotion. So no matter what you do, when you walk up to a woman, within a few seconds, she will begin to sense negative emotions from you. And it is over. This is why you might hear me say, words don't matter. The emotion matters. Words don't matter. Right? Because you're transferring emotions. That's why you got to have fun. The long-term solution is happiness. That's why I spent that time just talking about happiness. But if you're still working on that, here are 5 short-term solutions for you. The first is the one that I call Mr. Bean. As far as I know, I'm the only one who teaches this, but you feel free to spread it. Mr. Bean, the inimitable Mr. Bean, has done these TV shows and done some movies. Mr. Bean doesn't talk much, especially in the TV show. He just walks around and bumps into stuff and falls into things, and that's why it's funny. And when you watch it, you're wondering what's in his head. And you notice also the dialogue around him is muffled. So you just hear, and that honestly is what I think is going on in his head. And you might wonder, in college settings, why the big jocks who have low IQs, it seems, who don't get good grades, why is it that they always get girls? Well, they do have good bodies and they're athletic, and that obviously from evolution works for them. But girls, even the smart ones, don't mind talking to a dumb jock. Why? Because if he's an effective jock, he's having fun. These are the guys, when they go to a party, they don't think, they just react. So they start doing keg stands, they pound shots, they're just having fun, they're bringing people into it. If you're too smart, if you're getting good grades, if you're an intellectual, and you're at a party, this can really work against you. I know, 30 years of experience. Be dumb, be Mr. Bean. Channel your Mr. Bean, empty your mind. This is like one of those Zen ideas. Right? So in meditation, you're trying to empty the mind because you got too much self-chatter, limiting self-chatter in there. You got to throw it out, but you can't just empty the mind. Meditation practitioners will also tell you the brain is continually moving. You can't just stop it from moving unless you're dead. So you have to replace it. And that's why after a few seconds, these thoughts start crowding in. Replace it with emptiness, with nonsense. Mr. Bean nonsense. Now, if you find yourself like, oh my God, you're thinking things like, oh my God, she's not going to like me. Oh, look, all these people are watching. You have all these debilitating thoughts. Throw those out of your mind instead. Just start saying to yourself, hey, don't let your rational brain fuck you up. Rationality can be an impediment. The second technique is immersion. Immersion. Immerse yourself in the activity, the fun activity that you enjoy. It could be playing pool at a bar. If you really enjoy that, you get in the flow, playing pool. You're having a great time with your buddies, playing pool, and then you turn around and talk to the girl near you. Maybe you like to dance. Immerse yourself in dancing. If you don't know how to dance, don't force yourself to dance. Right? But if you enjoy it, and that's one way that you get into flow, then do it. Music. I think that's a more common one. If you like the music, then close your eyes and listen to the music. Get yourself in the flow, immerse yourself in the music. For me, a lot of it is conversation, joking around with my friends. So when you go to a place and you're still out of flow, you're not having fun yet, joke around with your buddies. Immerse yourself in that activity. The third one is, let the body lead. Let the body lead. So if you're close enough to a girl that you'd like to talk to, but you're freezing up, this is like a biblical saying, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, or something like that. I forget if it's right or left. Basically just act. Just tap her. Don't look at your hand. Don't look at her because it'll freak you out. Just do this. And it's almost like a reflex action. It's like when you're at the doctor and he takes a hammer into your knee and it's just knee-jerk reflex action. Just do that. Open. And she'll turn to you. And now you got to open it. You're forcing yourself to do it. Do it. Just get yourself in there. Get in the habit of letting your feet move as if they're possessed. What's going on? Why did they stop? When you see a girl you want to talk to, you're frozen. Don't look where you're going. Just start doing this. Just get the feet moving. Tell your feet to move. Let the body lead. And if you have a good dating coach, he's going to do it for you. He's going to let his body lead you. Number 4, use your wings. You need to become outcome independent, right? You need to have fun, so you can joke around with your wings. I'll give you 2 ways to do this. One is a game called I Spy, and the idea is to get yourself out of your head. You get out of your head by noticing the outside environment. So with Mr. Bean, you're still in your head, but you're replacing it. With I Spy, you're out of your head, and you're just noticing things very quickly, so that your rational brain can't go back in and introspect. But now you're forced to observe things. So I Spy works in rapid fire, boom, boom. Like what you just basically see, you just point out. I see a red chair, I see an amplifier, I see a camera, I see the time, I see that rattan screen, and it's just back and forth, back and forth. If you lose the rhythm, and you're too slow, your buddy can punch you. And this is also a great way to spot situational openers. And the second one is bombing openers. The purpose of a bombing opener is not to prove how good you are with game, right? The purpose of a bombing opener is either to bomb or to make your buddies laugh, or both. Actually, it should be both. Your purpose should be to bomb. Most guys don't realize that when they hear that. Maybe because when people talk about bombing openers, they always talk about how it turns around. But the purpose of a bombing opener is to make an interaction go bad. And then for you to stand there and realize you're not dead, you haven't lost a limb, no one even noticed, except for those 2 or 3 girls that just walked off. No one cares. And then when you turn around, your buddies are laughing with you because it's funny what you just said. Make sure you open with something that's funny. One caveat, never say anything that's offensive about them. Don't say anything that's offensive to them. You can offend yourself, you can talk down about yourself all the time, any way you like. Right? Just don't be offensive. But the purpose is to make yourself outcome independent. Okay. The fifth is your biochemistry. I've talked a bit about this, fix your biochemistry. But one way that people like to do this is with alcohol. Alcohol makes them uninhibited. Unfortunately, very quickly, it can also make you out of control. And your eyes are going to be roving everywhere. You won't be able to stand. You're going to smell bad, and your speech will be slurred. That's bad. But maybe 1 drink an hour, depending on your weight and the drink itself, it might be good, like social lubrication. But that's the last resort. Right? Try some of the other techniques first. Immersion especially. Find what you enjoy doing in that context. Maybe it's during the shopping mall, during the day. Don't go out to the shopping mall or the street with the express purpose of picking up chicks. That's horrible. That's a horrible mindset. Who has fun doing that, roaming around the streets? It's nerve-wracking. Instead, do something you enjoy. I enjoy grabbing a bubble tea, or maybe a beer in some countries. You can walk around with an open bottle of alcohol. And just window shopping, talking shit with your buddies if he's there. Or what I like to do is listen to my iPod, listen to music while I walk around. So I'm in a great state of mind. I'm happy. And then when I see someone I want to talk to, it's much easier. And that's the way it should be. Okay, just to recap. We went over the 3 steps of a relationship. We went over the 3 stages of mastery. And then we looked in depth at step 1, enjoyment. We talked about the fundamental basis of it is that you need to be happy. We talked about how to be happy. Then we talked about the pre-approach, the attraction mindset, and how to get it. And we talked about a few techniques on how to have fun. What's coming up now is how to approach and transition. How to approach someone you like and transition out of it using the emotional activation system. All right, take a little break.